Hey everybody, Ren here. Welcome back to another video. We're going to be continuing our speedrun and we're playing against Queen F3. We're at the 1150s and we're still seeing it. So we're going to play knight e5. Again, whenever we see this Queen F3, I think knight c6 is the best way to deal with it. Because now, well, they just wasted a bunch of time. We got rid of their light squared bishop, which is really nice. And yeah, we just developed naturally. Just make normal moves. Bishop g7, knight f6, and I prefer black. Yep, bishop to g7, knight to f6. And we're just focusing on our development, right? If they're going to make a bunch of moves with their queen and their pawns, the best way to punish it is just by developing a bunch. And now I have this funny idea, which I don't think is like, it's not stupid. The idea is rook b8. And you might be asking, why rook b8, Braden? I hate my name, by the way. The idea of rook b8 is actually to generally play b5. b5 is a good expansion in a lot of Sicilians, and this is no exception. So when we play b5, there's also another move that I want to follow up with. Wait, did they just trap their own queen? Bishop e6, here, a6. They have this move. Okay, I just have to make sure, because it looked like they were about to trap their queen. Did they trap their queen before? No. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because it does feel like very, very, very close to trapped. But it's not yet. So anyways, yeah, I'm going to play b5. That's what I wanted to play. And we could play bishop e6. Develop, right? Develop with tempo is not really a bad thing. And now I want to play a5. The thing is, if we take on b4, they can take with the queen, right? We could also take where they take with the queen, then we play a5 and then b4. But I like a5 immediately. It feels like it puts just a little bit more pressure on them. Because now, of course, we have these threats of taking. If they play a3, then we might just be able to sit with the position. So they end up taking. I like b4 here. But I think we should just recapture and keep our material. We don't want to go too crazy. Even though crazy is my middle name. Yeah, now we can play moves like b4. And continue pressure on this long diagonal, right? When you have this dragon bishop, you want to put pressure on your opponents. Especially on that diagonal. So this rook b8, b5, b4 idea is one of those common ideas. Of course, you want to make sure that the positions are generally closed when you do it. So if they're not playing a d4, knight takes d4 type of position, then that's when you want to consider it. So if they take, we can actually just take on a1. And if they move their knight, then we can just take on c3. So they're in a really tough spot. Okay. That move now, they want to be able to develop their knight. I think c4 is interesting. But then they play d4, right? And I don't know if I love that. I could just go queen d7 and then rook to d8. Right? You don't need to be fancy. You just need to develop naturally. And queen d7 to play rook d8, to put more pressure on their center, is a very good thing to do. We always have this theme of they can't take because the rook on the corner is hanging. So they'd have to move their knight and then move their rook to even consider taking. But even still, I don't think they'd want to take, right? But you never know. Okay, so they play a4. And I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to take en passant or something. That'd be very silly. b3 is my first consideration. But I actually want to play the move rook to d8. Because again, we can try taking all these things, but it does ruin our pawn structure. Whereas if we just leave our pawns as they are and just improve our pieces in these messy positions where we're not sure what's going on, pretty much every move we've made lately has been something involving the pieces. Let's see how many moves it was. So castles, okay, rook b8. So one pawn move, but okay, piece move. This is a natural piece move though. Obviously we have to move a piece there. So okay, there's another pawn move. Actually, we're moving a lot of pawn moves, but okay. Well, either way, in my opinion, it feels like we were making more piece moves than pawn moves. Okay, but now that they played king d2, there's this tactical idea. I want to see if you guys can see it. It's unusual. So how do we improve our pieces? What's our worst piece, right? Generally, when you're in a position you don't know what to do, ask 3 questions. Where are the weaknesses? And we can see the weakness is their king and this diagonal, especially, right? So those are the weaknesses. If we look at the other weaknesses, well, actually, no, sorry. We already mentioned their king. What's our worst piece? That's the second one. So this rook's good, this bishop's good, this queen's good. I'd say this piece can be improved. And what does our opponent want to do? I have no idea. I think they just want to trade pieces and be safe. But the thing is, we have this move bishop c4. And we're taking advantage of the fact that we're adding pressure onto the pinned pawn on d3. If they play d4, we can end up taking on e2 and then on d4. We could also play moves like b3. I like b3 the most, I think. Because with this move b3, what I'm trying to do is if they go queen c1, I have b2, which actually wins the rook in the corner, or the queen. And instead, now I'm looking to take on d4, or take on e2 first, more precisely. So if they go queen b2, then I'm seriously considering to take on e2, and then take on d4. Okay. So do we take that or do we take on d4? I think we take on d4 here. They can take with the knight, but then we have e5, which wins on the spot. We're threatening to take on c3, followed by something like c2. If king e1, maybe we just take and then go c2, which just wins everything. But this is the problem, right? They didn't develop fast enough. They were making unnecessary threats in the opening with bishop c4 and queen f3. And they delayed the development of some of their most important pieces. And that landed them in trouble. So we can take on e2 first, or we can actually take on d4 with the bishop. And the idea of taking with the bishop is that after they take back, we can take with check and win this rook in the corner. So I like taking with the bishop here. All right, now we can win this rook in the corner. And we attack the queen at the same time. Another thing we can try is queen takes e4, actually. Which looks like it wins their queen and gives checkmate. Hey, when you see a good move, look for a better one, right? If they go king c1 instead, then b2, king c2, and bishop to b3 is checkmate. Yeah, we just look for checkmate here. There's no reason to go for the rook in the corner if we can force a checkmate. Yeah, these are the only 2 moves, but both end in a force mate. So b2 check. You know what we don't get to do every day? I hope that they don't resign. Because we can take and promote to a knight. And the reason why this works is because queen b2 is checkmate, which is the same amount of time. So that was still the most efficient checkmate. That's pretty cool, right? You don't get to see that every day, but hey, sometimes it's cool to be stylish, and it pays off. Yeah, let's look at that in analysis because we have to point out the mistakes again. So again, the problem with queen f3 and bishop c4 is you see this move knight c6 and then knight e5, and then you immediately start questioning why you played bishop c4, knight f3, or queen f3, because all of a sudden, well, we're taking on c4. We get the bishop pair in these Sicilian positions. We're extremely happy about that. And most importantly, this queen blocks the most natural development for this knight. It would want to go to f3, but it can't. And because of that, they just started landing themselves in trouble. And d3 is a very natural developing move, but also at the same time, it's restricting their queen a bit. Like, the fact that we were looking at tactics on trying to win their queen with this rook b8 and b5, like it felt really close to them just losing their queen. Luckily, they didn't have anything specific to lose their queen, but we can tell that white is much worse, if not already lost here. Despite it being equal material, we're castled. Our rook on b8's actually very effective, giving us this queenside expansion option. The queen on d8 is very good and safe, whereas their queen on c4 is not really that safe. We can keep attacking it. Bishop on f6 is a monster. We have the two bishops versus two knights. Both of our rooks are better than both of theirs, and our pawn structure is quite healthy. Their pawn structure is not that bad, but I would say it's not as healthy as ours because mainly they're dealing with some weaknesses on this long diagonal. So nearly every single way you evaluate the position and sort of like the imbalances, which is like quality of minor pieces versus the quality of their minor pieces, quality of the queens versus each other, the rooks, kings, etc. Pretty much every single one is in our favor, and that will just give us a winning position. And yeah, when I turn on the engine, it says -4, and if you see -4, you know it's completely winning, despite them having or despite us having no way to win their queen or anything. It's still -4, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, so hopefully that was important and you guys learned something along the way about it. I think I did too, so I am happy. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time with another game. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.